Welcome to this month's Midstream Connect featuring logistics. I'm your host, Heather Rosenbaum. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. In the world of NGL logistics, a lot has changed with the downturn. Between 2011 and 2015, there was a huge build-out in NGL infrastructure, which expanded the processing industry, the NGL mix pipelines, fractionation capacity, and also added NGL product distribution lines. At the peak of shale plays, when oil prices were at $80 to $100 per barrel, producers were willing to make long-term fee commitments to make sure midstream companies were incentivized to build long-haul pipelines, as well as other NGL infrastructure. But with the collapse in crude prices, much of this build-out has slowed down. In fact, many producers are under such financial distress that they're no longer willing or capable at times to underwrite NGL logistic assets. Of course, there is still some remaining projects under construction, but the big surge of construction that we've seen in the last 5 years has substantially subsided. We spoke to Principal of EnVantage, Peter Fasullo, about what this means for the midstream once the market rebounds.
It takes time for the infrastructure to be built. A lot of it's going to depend on how secure the producer or how confident they feel that high prices are going to last and whether they're willing to make these long-term commitments. Again, whether like 10 or 15-year deals to, and that's, give you an example. One of the implications of the slowdown that we're seeing is that we're probably not going to get NGL production growth like we thought we were going to get. Nowhere near as high as what people were forecasting. And this has a big implication on ethane. And we have a lot of petrochemical capacity that's going to come on in the next 2 to 5 years. And more ethane is going to be needed from regions that are furthest from the Gulf Coast market, where all the petrochemical, most of the, if not all the petrochemical facilities are going to be built. And more infrastructure is going to be needed to bring that ethane down. So who's going to finance that? The midstream companies aren't going to do it on their own accord unless they've had long-term commitments. The producers may not feel confident enough that high prices will last. So the petrochemical companies may be left in the situation where they're going to have to do something to get that ethane because most, if not all, their new capacity is based on ethane. So it's a great question because we don't know yet. We don't know what the answer is. It's a typical boom-bust type cycle where, we probably overbuilt, but then we may be underbuilt when things really rebound. And the question is, are we going to see that same contractual relationship between the producers and the midstream companies? Because right now it's basically broken. They're not going to do the long-term arrangements any longer. The producers are. So are they willing to enter back into long-term contracts in the future? And I know the smaller producers may be very reluctant to do so. It's going to get interesting as we go towards 2020 if things rebound.
This concludes this edition of Midstream Connect. Again, we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for making this segment possible. Until next time, let's stay connected. To stay up to date on the most recent hard energy videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking here.